I'm your host, Cue Carbon. This is Q&A, the first episode. And basically, today, as most of you probably already know, we have a pretty amazing guest who is on screen right now, as you can see. This man was named Trap's newest star by Complex Magazine. Originally from Toronto, catapulted his career in Atlanta. Huge hit song, Just Text. Caught his eye of the legendary Cash Money official head DJ Swamp Izzo, who took him to help him out, established him. He blew up in Atlanta. This man is entertaining. He is controversial because he doesn't take crap. He's turned down a lot of major media interviews, even declining his double XL Freshman of the Year nomination because of some politics that he will not put up with. Which is amazing already. Without further ado, Northern Touch Music Festival and myself would like to introduce Magic City's All-Star Shah. Welcome to the show, my man.
What up? That's the introduction. I need you on stage every time.
Oh, yeah, I'm down for it. I'm down for it.
Okay. How you living, baby? What's going on?
Oh, man, it's good. It's good. It's good. You know, we're all dealing with the same things, but you got to stay creative, right? You got to keep doing stuff, and here we are. You know, I'm not just sitting and watching YouTube all day.
This is the time to make content, especially for artists right now. This is the time to create. So, you know, let's get to it.
We have no excuse to not be doing something in our homes. I mean, despite, you know, I don't know about some people's places, but at home, you can still rent audio equipment, and they have a minimum of a month rental along McQuaid, so it actually makes you have to do something for a month.
It's a lot of time to create, to pursue your dream, to get productive, and yeah, there's no excuse because you know, it's hard to see something like this happening again. It was hard to see this happening in the first place, of course.
Absolutely. I mean, who saw this coming? Like, it came in like a wrecking ball. We might as well call it the Miley Cyrus virus.
It came in like a wrecking ball. We may as well call it the Miley Cyrus virus.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, my man.
You know what? That's what the power of coffee does. And you know what they say about people like me? I don't know if you can...
I may be left-handed, but I'm always right. Oh, fuck. There's some big left-handed people out there. Barack Obama, my dog. I think Jesus Christ. So,
was he? Dang, that's dope.
I don't know how they would know.
But. All right, my man. Well, I mean, this is a question and answer based episode. Yeah. We have had a lot of artists on our social media, on Northern Touch Music Festivals, Instagram and Facebook, commented questions that they would love to ask you. Some of those people are live with us now. We'll be able to bring them on screen as we go, which is pretty amazing. Yeah. What do you say we kind of get into this? Oh, look, there's a dog.
Let's do it.
Oh, hello.
What's up? Trying to steal the spotlight? You want to hang out? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. All right.
Maybe we'll throw in some dog questions too while we're at it.
Dog questions. What's up, you cute little rascal? You want to hear about the dog? Okay. Well, we're here. Let's start this off. Cue, my dog.
All right.
All the artists out there in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, worldwide.
What up, Shah?
What up, dog? What's going on?
Good, man. How you hanging in Atlanta?
Yo, look at this. I like the gear. I need this. I need this for myself.
I got you, man. I'll hook you up.
No, my bro. What's going on?
First of all, what you sipping on?
I don't know. It's a Stella glass, but it's definitely some, it's some bottle that I popped at the closest place. Who knows?
Hey, that's all we're doing right now, drinking, right?
Right, exactly. We live in.
All right, so my question was, what and who inspired you to create your music?
I love this. So this is a question that I've gotten in the past, and it's not the typical answer beyond the artist when I was a kid. So like Tupac passed before I even really got into rap music. But then once I did, Pac was the figure that was and is inspirational because he stood for something more than just making music and more than just, like flexing and getting rich and all the typical stuff. So Pac is definitely the artist that inspired me and the artist that I feel is inspirational. But then beyond that, just to be honest, then there's a lot of rappers that I fuck with. But in terms of inspirational, it sort of starts to like wrap up around Pac. It's sort of where it begins and ends. But the places I do find inspiration are figures like Malcolm X, probably my most inspirational figure, and Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali is the figure because he sort of transcended what he did, which was just sport, boxing, for a much bigger purpose, which was he was a champion for Black America, he was a champion for Muslims, and he was a champion for like underrepresented people altogether, like when he wouldn't serve, and I think it was Vietnam War. I mean, Bernie Sanders is I think the closest we have in America to an inspirational figure who's a champion of the people. But obviously, you know, Bernie doesn't have that same like fire that a Malcolm X did or a Pac.
Right. An artist who could not make it live. And I know you sort of answered this, but you can maybe elaborate a little bit on this that might tie into what you were just saying. So an artist out of Toronto area, Romney, he actually asked, was music what you always aspired to do, or did it come later in life?
So music's always been the thing for me. Music's always been the thing that I know that I'm built for, the thing that I know that I'll excel at. But then as a little brown boy, you know, from a Muslim family, an immigrant family in Toronto, I've said this before, it's not that I sort of hit a fork in the road, or I hit the crossroads where it's like, all right, well, I can do music, but I'm gonna go pursue this other thing. It was that, you know, when I was in high school, it just didn't even occur to me to do music for a living. It just, there was no one to look up to really at that point. Especially as a brown boy, there weren't really brown celebrities, period.
Right.
But even at that time, there wasn't even, you know, like, so now obviously we have Drake and we have Abel and we have Tory Lanez. So now there's rappers that have done it. And I know for little brown boys, like I'm the figure, but we lacked that growing up.
Right.
So it was that it just didn't even occur to me as an option, almost like if it was a different reality.
Right.
But it just didn't even occur to me until, so my big regret is school. I did too much school. My biggest regret, I used to say my biggest regret was going to the University of Toronto for school, but, and that is my biggest regret, but tied for biggest regret is just staying in school. So that was just not the move. And increasingly over time, the world has changed so that if you are a hustler and you're someone who will get the job done and you have a vision for yourself, you don't need school, you don't need existing infrastructure. Of course, if you want to be a surgeon, then yeah, that's an end goal that you get to through school.
That's a big, that topic alone, and I agree with you. And I've summed this up like this. It's like, take school when you know you need to learn a specific thing. Don't just enter school, take random topics, and then go from there, because you learn a lot that you'll never use. You spend a lot of money and have a lot of debt and a lot of time. So like you said, entrepreneur, you're a hustler, right? So you use those skills and potential, and then you might need to like learn a few key things that you didn't know. So tap into those, but don't just blindly follow. Like when I grew up in high school, from grade 9, they were always like, they had a class where like, okay, what are you going to do when you're done high school? This and that. It's like, how do you know that at 14 and 15? And then you end up thinking you have to go into school after high school, and you just start taking courses and you end up using none of it. And then you have like tens of thousands of dollars in debt when you could have maybe used that time to use your hustle, right?
Exactly. So like what you're saying is like the identical concept of as what I tell kids, which is like another way of saying it is school is not a good place to wander. And now the classic North American experience, maybe the classic Western culture experience, is high school and then college, drinking and partying and having fun and all that shit, which is like, that's nice and that's good. And that's like, no matter who you are, that is a fun thing that you don't want to miss out on. But I mean, there's lots of ways that you can do that. There's lots of ways that you can.
Yeah, you can even drive onto campus if you're not even a student, really.
Yeah, and there's way more fun to be had. Like if you look at thinking your most fun moments in life, it was on your break, or it was in your summer. It wasn't really, at 100%. School. So I say school is not a great place to wander, because independently carving your own path it's harder. It's harder. It's more intimidating. You
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know what's going on. But if you're a hustler, if you're someone who has a dream and has a vision for yourself, then that's the way to go. Unless school is the way to get to your dream. So if you want to be, in medicine,
Doctor, yeah, medicine.
or certain things where it's you can't do it
Yeah,
outside.
there's a mentor of mine in the business world outside of music, and he always makes me laugh when he's like, well, he explains the same thing. He's in agreement with you and me, but he says those certain little aspects, like, yes, I do want my doctor or the surgeon to be in school before he's cutting me open and stuff. But those are like such specific avenues, right? So
right. Like there was a time where maybe you could argue that you needed to go to school for business. You go and get your MBA. But I mean, clearly that's not the fastest path or the strongest, the most direct path to business anyway. So, I mean, I spent too long in school, and getting back to the question that Rami asked, I always knew this was the path for me, but I didn't get there immediately. It wasn't until, spending too long in school and then realizing that, all right, well, any regular job I do, just my personality, not only am I built for something that speaks to me and is something special, but if I were to do this path, I'm not built for this. I will fail at this and end up in prison. So, or dead, or worse. So, so that's the answer to how did I get to where I am today.
would you say you're very goal orientated? And what I mean by that is obviously you have goals because you've been achieving some amazing things, but like, is that what kind of can propel you day to day, is thinking about even small goals? Like I use goals a lot in my life to not feel like I'm stuck, even if it's a small thing the next day, then it really helps drive me. Are you someone who utilizes that a lot, or is there something else?
I don't think I've ever gotten that question before. And then really the thing that complicates that is my ADHD. Feeling that I have the majority of the time is, fuck, I'm not being productive. I'm not getting shit done. And I'm always beating myself up.
Right.
I'm always beating myself up of like, man, like this whole day's gone by and like, what have I gotten done? And it's like, the music industry at least is a field where the accomplishments and the successes don't happen overnight. Like there are moments where, you're like, oh, hey, I'm on this chart, or, oh, hey, this press came out, right? Mm-hmm. But it happens at a pace where you don't realize that you're in the midst of it. So with goals, that comes down to breaking it down into smaller pieces, right? So there's broad concepts like backwards planning, and maybe in future episodes we'll get into these things, right? But there's lots of different strategies you can use to accelerate your success in music. Backwards planning is one. Just having the knowledge is another.
So the next question is from an artist named Brianka, and she couldn't be here with us live. So her question was, who or what was your inspiration behind your song Telemundo?
Telemundo!
Telemundo!
Hey, all right. So this is my first time going viral. So right now, so far, all we've been talking about today is how hard it is. The shit's a grind, blah, 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 but you'll get there. So Telemundo, that shit went. Telemundo took off. My first time going viral. My first time ever with the next day, there's thousands of new fans. There's thousands of new followers. There's hundreds of DMs from people. Hey, who are you? I love you, blah, blah, blah. This shit's fire. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. The Dominicans that blew me up with Telemundo. Shout out all my Dominicanos. What's going on? No, I got nothing but love for y'all. So maybe when we repost this, we can put that little video up here.
Absolutely. It is what I won't say anything, but what you did to those people's minds in that studio, that video was just wow.
No, I'm glad you saw it. Because
dude.
I don't know how many people outside of like I know that a lot of people in New York saw it, and I know a lot of Dominican and a lot of like, Latinos saw it, but outside of that, I don't know what the response. I don't know if it made it to Canada. So that's
we'll
great.
link it.
So the inspiration behind that was that for a while, for probably a couple of years, I've been wanting to make like Latin trap. I've been wanting to make some Spanish music. I fuck with Dominicans heavy. In New York, the first place I ever lived was the Heights, so which is like super Dominican. Dominicans always showed me love. My longtime engineer producer, Eddie Beethoven, is Dominican, like his heart and soul. So I've been wanting to rock with something, not necessarily just Dominican, but something in the Latin trap world for a minute, for a couple of years. But that sort of shit has to be real. It has to be organic. If you try to do that as a gimmick, then, you know, like, I'm not trying to be Lil Dicky. I'm not trying to be like, you know, that sort of rapper. I'm not trying to be weird.
Do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, do that. Yeah.
You'll see that video, but then it was just a moment where Eddie was like, all right, yeah, now it's time. It's time. Like, we've been wanting to do this for a minute, for a couple of years. It's time. And we did it. And there happened to be a bunch of other New York Dominicans there that day. And then you'll see the video. You'll see what happened. So then, so that was the inspiration. The inspiration was just, I wanted to do something like this for a minute. It just felt right. And then we got the verification that, yep, this is it. And then Latin World Star posted the video of that moment. And then the thing just went.
Good friend of mine, Kirsten, had a question for you.
Kirsten, what's going on? How you doing?
What keeps you motivated and inspired to produce music during the COVID-19 pandemic?
So that's a great question. To me, it's the pressure of. To me, right now, it feels like TikTok. It's like, all right. Aside from a very small number of things, there's a level playing field, right? So aside from your existing audience and maybe the house that you live in, other than those two things, you and the biggest artist in the world, or the biggest artist in the world and the smallest artist in the world, it's kind of leveled out, right?
Right.
So what that means is, okay, so I was set to play South by Southwest, right? If you were not set to play South by Southwest, you applied, you wanted to, you've heard of it, but whatever it was, right now you and me are equal, right? If I wasn't set to play Glastonbury, giant festival in England, right? Right now, like, none of us are playing Glastonbury. So this thing is only gonna last for so long. The opportunity is there for anyone to seize. Anyone can come and break right now.
Right. We're all in our homes, whether you, like you were saying, whether you're Kanye or Shah or me, whatever different levels and things like that, you're all stuck in your house. You got to make that work, but everyone else is in their house watching whatever they can because they've I had a friend who said, "Oh, today I finished Netflix." Like its entirety. So why don't you give them something, right? So hence why we're doing this interview. Banding Together, ATX, on Instagram. They had a question. And it's a loaded question. I think they're expecting an answer. But be honest, what is your favorite city to tour in?
Favorite city to tour in? So I've only really toured in like the South of America and in like, you know, some parts of Europe, like maybe 6 or 7 countries in Europe. Like I've done, of course I was in Winnipeg for Northern Touch. I've done New York, but generally where things have happened for me is the Southeast and then out to Austin. Shout out Banding Together ATX. They're doing some great shit for the community of Austin and independent artists that, you know, have been suffering because of South by. And then a few countries in Europe. So where is my favorite place?
Or how about top 3 if that helps you? Because I know that the favorite is always a loaded question.
Yeah, sure. So the one that stands out right away is a place called Gdansk, or I don't know how you pronounce it, Gdansk, Poland. Those fans were the most lit fans maybe I've ever seen in my life. Another one that stands out is Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Sorry, where was that?
It's called Fayetteville, North Carolina. It's a city. It's a place with a military base, but other than the military base, it's a place where a lot of people are afraid of it. It's a really like whatever it is. People are like, oh shit, you're gonna go to Fayetteville? So there's a whole little place, like a whole little, I guess, region of North Carolina. Maybe not a region, but it goes Raleigh, Fayetteville. There's a few other places there. I've gotten a lot of love there. I've gotten a lot of love in that little stretch of North Carolina. I guess if you're giving me three, Miami is definitely the place that showed me so much love. It's guaranteed fun. I hesitate because it's another home now. Kind of like, you know, if you're in Canada and if you're from Winnipeg, like ultimately like Toronto will probably feel like home at some point, and maybe Calgary or Winnipeg will
yeah. For me, I got a spot in Toronto through our mutual friend Shay, who was on here earlier. Shout out to Shay. His mom over the years with music has been amazing. She's got a spot, so that's like my second home.
Right.
Okay, so the next question here from Sumaya.
Hi, Shah.
Sumaya, how you doing?
I'm left-handed.
There's a lot of left-handed people. I trust left-handed people more than the rest of us. So I'll tell you that.
To do the Daisy thing and have a cup of tea.
But Daisies, there's something with left-handed, right? Like there's something there, right? Daisies, they don't trust left-handed. There's something like that.
We are like the outcast or something.
Yeah. I don't believe that. I trust left-handed people more.
Relatives. But you know what? You're so down to earth. That's my favorite question for you. You're so famous. You're mainstream. Every worst little group wants to be. Oh, do you guys see me? I see you.
Yeah.
I thought I lost you. So how do you remain so grounded? You're surrounded by so much famous stuff and so much love from fans, but you're right there trying to make connections and reaching out to people. How do you do that?
So first of all, thank you for saying that, because very few people in my life, maybe nobody, has ever said that I'm humble or I'm down to earth. So thank you for saying that, because I do feel like in my heart, I feel like I'm a man of the people. So that's where that comes from, in that, like, if you get to the point of success and you don't make time for the people that are supporting you, it just doesn't make sense. It's not real. Like that's not a real individual. Like that's something that Donald Trump, that's something that you would see Donald Trump doing.
Right.
So I think that's just the right way to be. Like there's little things that'll go viral on Facebook. Generally, like I'm not on Facebook, right? Mm-hmm. But occasionally you'll see some shit this just takes off, and it's in India. Other than these moments, I don't feel like I'm like I feel like the brown community is not rocking with me. Well,
to interject, I do see on your social media, I've seen a few like diehard community people so hopefully it's just that you're not directly seeing it, but I can't see you not being an inspiration with all the social media and all the things you're achieving. I mean, you gotta be. I just hope that people are less shy going forward and reach out to you. Maybe they don't know that you're that humble, so maybe they don't even want to message you because they're thinking, he won't care. But if anyone's watching this, I mean, show this man love. I know from my experiences with him, he is humble, and artists need that feedback, where most of us aren't that egotistical, and sometimes we're putting out stuff and views is one thing, but like we want to know how it impacts people, right? And know that's worth it, right? And I think people need to.
You just gave some real game out there. This platform, this series that we've started, this collaboration with Shah and Northern Touch is really about giving back to the people. Northern Touch, the spirit of Northern Touch is to give to Canadian artists, and this is something I'm down for. But what you just did is reminded me and realized me of something that my main teammate Liz tries to, remind me all the time, which is that if you're grateful for the good that's happening, then what you're putting out into the universe is, I'm on some winner shit. And then when you put out the vibe that I'm on some winner shit, then way more winner shit is just attracted to you. And what you just pointed out is something that I'm missing, that others on the team have pointed out, and I just kind of dismissed, is that what you just said is that you can look at my social media and you'll see diehard Brown fans. And I know what you're talking about. They're there in the comments, they're there in the DMs, and you're right. And maybe I'm just not appreciative because it's not a billion of them or whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but you're right. What up, Nightshade? What's going on, fam?
What's good, man? You look well?
Just out here. I'm just out here, dog.
Good, good. My question for you is, what's the best way to overcome writer's block?
Writer's block. I mean, the easy answer is smoke sativa. The easy answer is any stimulant, right? Like, so, and sativa is the best one. So for people who don't know, obviously you smoke weed, and you have indica, which is more address like medical symptoms, more of the pass out, whatever, and sativa is more of the up. So get yourself a good sativa, like the classic New York sativas, Sour D, whatever. I remember, like, depending on where you are, maybe weed you can't order by the strain, but it's just legal in Canada, so you can go there and get whatever the fuck you want, right? So sativa's it. If you want to mix a sativa, if you got ADHD or whatever, you got an Adderall prescription, or you got some prescription for productivity, so that you'll focus on the task at hand, and then a breakthrough of sativa, then or like I believe sativa will crack a breakthrough for you. So for me, that's kind of all I need in the context of not feeling the pressures of other shit.
Okay, so now there's two questions from artists who couldn't make it here that sort of tie into each other. So I'm going to mention both of them. So first, it's Papa Joseo. His question was, how do you find fan base? And artist Babylon, who I recently collabed with, shameless plug there, we did a cipher.
Babylon, Wagwan.
His question was, how do you find and then reach your audience? So how do you find a fan base? How do you find and then reach your audience?
Okay, so this is an excellent question. This should be one of the questions that, for a new artist or an artist that's like driven by passion but might be struggling, this is one of the earlier questions that you should ask yourself that no one else will tell you to. Who is your community? So what are the morals you have? Who are you? What are the things that define you? And then you find that community and you genuinely involve yourself in that community. So that requires humbling yourself, which in the rap game, that's hard to do, because part of being a rapper is your ego, your persona, who you are as an artist, your stage presence, all that shit like counts for something. And if you're super humble, if you're meek, if you're quiet, it's just not going to work, right? So it is something that's challenging to balance, but humbling yourself within your community is a key step to finding your audience, because then once you've humbled yourself, meaning you're just a part of the community. You're not the star of the community.
Okay, cool. Vivek asks, how much importance should be placed on playlist promo after release? Joe Boy Rock asks, how much planning goes into a music release?
Oof, okay.
I should have probably asked those two in the opposite order.
Yeah, the planning into the release, I think that there's so much there that maybe we can do a whole episode on that, and maybe that should be the next episode.
Sure.
Of this, is that we can talk about that all day. But just briefly, there's two ways to look at it. One way, so the classic way of looking at it is like you're going all into every release. So you're strategic with the singles you put out, and every single that you put out, you want to give yourself a shot for that to blow up and take off. So realistically, for that sort of game, you want to give yourself 2 to 3 months, because now we're talking about reaching out to radio stations. We're talking about getting the record serviced. We're talking about reaching out to press. We're talking about different regions that you're going to be reaching out to. So that is 2 to 3 months is what you need to properly work a single.
So like a 60 to 90 day game plan.
60 to 90 day game plan, yeah.
Cypher Diaz, aka Cyph Life, homie of mine who has performed at More Than Touch. He's got a question.
Yo.
Yo.
Hey, what up, Shah?
Wagwan, what's going on, my dog?
There, family. Q.
What's up?
Hey.
Hey. Yeah, I got a question, man.
What's going on?
Digging your vibe still. How do you build a solid team?
So a solid team is, it begins with, I mean, the Atlanta way I would say is, and I don't know if this really exists in Canada. It didn't exist in Toronto, like in my eyes, but the classic rap way is that you're trapping. You got the dough, you're putting people on, and those same people, now that you're sort of putting on and feeding, now instead of just being, your hitman, instead of just being someone who's keeping six and watching out, you're giving them roles. That would be the classic rap way. But I don't know if that happens in Canada. I don't know if there's enough street money out.
No, see, the problem is we did that, but it doesn't end well every time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. The city needs to be, so in Atlanta that works because in Atlanta the streets it's sort of like the third world where you can just pay off whoever would stop you. So you can just keep caking until you get to the point where you've got enough dough to compete. You've got $250,000 of street money to go do it. And I don't think it works like that in Canada. So at least not when that's not how it worked where I'm from in Toronto. So then the artistic way to do it is that it's the people who believe in you. And it will be a slower grind because you might not be able to feed them. So for me, it didn't work the classic street way. For me, it worked in that, people really believed in me. So in Toronto, it began with, I had 3 people, Carlos, Jamie, and Taylor. 3 people really just believed in me all the way. And then having that voice of people that believed in me then attracted more of the team. And ultimately, all those guys now, they've got families. They had to like leave the rap world. They couldn't sort of keep up. They couldn't keep up with like how rap goes. But having it, like the initial team draws more team, and the initial team just needs to be based on their belief in you. So that's what it is, and then it'll work, and then you need to value them and you need to appreciate them, because sometimes, and this is definitely like a rapper ego sort of problem, but sometimes like the people that are closest to you when things are tough will be like, oh, you didn't do this, blah, blah, you didn't bust your ass hard enough. It's like, you got to remember, these are the people that believe in you. These are the people that are putting in for you. You need to nourish them with love.
Your day ones, right?
My day one. Like the dope boy can nourish them with a lot of, in more tangible ways.
Excellent. Now, another good question here, and this is maybe a little bit all over the place, but an artist at GTK, Genesis the Kid, who was also in a Cypher recently did, he had a question. He couldn't be here live. Do you spend money on marketing or do all the work yourself?
Okay, so I wish I had known this one early, and it definitely costs money. So somewhere along the line, it's going to cost, like there's going to be expense. A radio campaign, a national radio campaign is going to be in the US, it's going to be around $200,000 to $250,000 American.
Wow.
So I don't know what it's like in Canada. In Canada, I think you can do it a little substantially cheaper, but you're still going to be paying a radio plugger to be doing it. So when I was starting, 2016, it was like there was a prolonged period where anything that, as soon as there was any expense, we would be like, nope. And it's a blessing and a curse that my team, so, and I say like, so there's Liz, there's Eddie, and even the early team before that of like Carlos, Jamie, Taylor, but we're talking about the modern day team. I'm blessed as being the heart of the team, that no one is money driven. and everyone is good with whatever the budget is, we make it work. So I'm blessed because no one's like, you know, trying to exploit me, right? But on the other hand is that if you live in a world of not spending money, that's just not what this world is, unfortunately, and the shit will just never go.
Right.
So I wish that I had understood early on that it's about how to spend your money the right way. Because what the money does is it saves you the time. And then
Right.
the reality is, if you're working a song and you try to do everything on your own, then it's gonna cost you so much time that by the time that one aspect of it is bubbling, then you're gonna have lost momentum elsewhere.
Right.
And it's just not gonna work. Anytime you can find a way to pay for something through someone who gets the job done, hold that relationship. And the advice is that, yeah, you will pay, but find the people who actually do make a difference. And unfortunately, they're probably not people that you can just Google.
And speaking on that, King Yoshiman had a question.
Yoshiman!
And maybe this is a part of this, is what is the key to great success? Would it be a team or would it be something else?
I think Yoshi may have been trolling with that question because there's no one key to great success. So shout out Yoshi. He got his trolling question through on the shit. But what I'll say is Yoshi has taught me Yoshi. All right. So as you said in the beginning of the shit, you gave me this beautiful introduction, totally accurate. And one of the things you said was that Swamp Izzo was the DJ that helped get me going. Swamp was the first big name. Cash Money's official DJ. He done Super Bowls, Obama's DJ, blah, blah, blah. And his cosign definitely helped. Similar to the way that Magic City's cosign did. It was like, oh, yo, Magic City's playing his shit. Oh, yo, he's Swamp Izzo's artist. Swamp Izzo's his DJ. That definitely opened doors, right?
Right.
That might help explain why the streets embrace me when I'm not a street, you know, I'm not from the streets. What Swamp told me was early on, when he started rocking with me, shake the hands, kiss the babies. And I didn't realize at that time, but I didn't know what that meant. He would say that. So I'd go up to the party where he'd be DJing, he'd play the record and he would say, shake the hands, kiss the babies. Sean Teasy, Bodega Teasy, the artist that plugged us together, he would tell me the same thing, shake the hands, kiss the babies. I didn't know what that meant. What that meant, and this is game that Yoshi has perfected, bullseye, is shake the hands, kiss the babies, which means when you're out, especially when you're out in a setting, and this is easier in Atlanta than Winnipeg or Toronto or like cities where rap is not the culture. But regardless, when you're out at a party where the people there are people who could be or would be your fans, you go and literally shake everyone's hands. You give them a sticker or a wristband or whatever the fuck it is, right? And especially as you start to get up, right? Now when I walk around, people know who I am. But when I still take the time to go and I see it, like, you know, there's a little, I see that, not maybe starstruck, but maybe just aware that, oh, this guy's a star. When I go up and I go dap you up, that strikes the person. They're like, oh, yeah, he didn't need to do that. And that's the difference between someone who is just an observer becoming a fan.
Right.
So now that I would say at this level of like, you know, being an independent artist who your goal is to popping, that would actually be the key. What is lesson that Yoshi is one of the best out here in Atlanta of being in the streets, being within the people, humbling yourself, and touching the hands, kissing the babies.
Dope. So I'm going to save the streaming, like we said earlier. I got a few more streaming questions, playlisting questions. So to those who had those questions, we're going to get to that possibly on the next episode, or we'll figure it out. So just so you know. So moving forward with some other things is, and this is a question that is a bit loaded, but maybe if you can give a very brief answer to this is, how do you make money as an artist?
So the classic ways of making dough as an artist are the classic ways is your touring, your merch, which is kind of tied to your touring, and then your royalties. And then in the modern day, you can look at your royalties as your streaming, and like you can look at it as your royalties of like radio, TV, commercials, anything related to sync as well as streaming, right?
Right.
And now you've seen interviews with like Birdman, and you'll be like, well, there's more money in music than there is now, and that's what they're talking about is streaming, because any song can go on the internet, doesn't need a radio campaign. It'll do some numbers that'll bring in some money, right?
Right.
Or conversely, you can find someone who's good, going back to our previous question of how do you work a record, who will work your record on Spotify, and whatever you pay someone to work your record on Spotify, you'll end up making a little bit more money back on the royalties. Those are the standard ways.
The standard basics. Cool. By artist Dre, D-R-A-E. He was asking, what would you say is more important, Spotify or YouTube views? So kind of video versus playlist.
Yep. I mean, that's a tough one, of course, but I would say that Spotify streams hold more weight in the industry as a sort of standard metric. So one of the first places someone in the industry, if you're meeting someone at a label who's like analyzing or just anyone in the industry, one of the first places they'll look at is your Spotify numbers. YouTube, on the other hand, it offers you more of an opportunity to build a community. And with Spotify, everything that you put out is a song. And I advocate your songs. Like, I'm definitely all in favor of put out your content. Like I said, don't wait for perfection. Just put the fucking shit out there, right?
That leads into my next question, but sorry, go ahead.
But the song as an artist, that is your thing. So that does need, like in Atlanta, there's songs that pop. There's songs from like Migos that you hear on the radio that the shit pops, the shit goes. And me as a New York, Toronto type guy, which means kind of like a hustler perfectionist, you're like, is this shit even mixed? And it doesn't matter because the shit goes.
Right.
But I still feel like, the song needs to be excellent. You put it out.
Good point.
YouTube, whatever the fuck. If you just need to get your shit going, you'll find an audience. But that's a step away, meaning your Spotify listener or someone who's listening to your song. A YouTube view, unless it's talking about your music video, is not necessarily a fan of your music. So I would say that YouTube offers more roads to get somewhere, but the Spotify shit is what counts the most. If you can pick one person, if you could pick a person who's like, he's going to make this song pop on Spotify, or he's going to make your video pop on YouTube, which I don't like, not to say that that's how the world works, but if you could, I would go with Spotify.
Perfect. Okay, so then that leads me into a mutual homie of ours, Post-War, had a question.
Where is he?
He was trying to link up. We got a last-minute message from him. We asked him to link the email, and unfortunately, with 10 minutes to go, I didn't see the email. So,
yo, Post-War, fuck that shit. We ain't answering your question. I want to see your face. I want to see the question come out of your mouth. Then fuck out of here. You ain't even gonna show up for the shit.
I'll tell you what. He tried to show up. He was last minute. It's all good that happened. So his question was, and I think we already know the answer to this, but should one prioritize quality or quantity?
How are you gonna ask me some fucking question that's like an encyclopedia of an answer, and then you don't even show up? We're being trolled out here.
Shots fired.
We're being trolled out. Yoshi trolled me, and now Post-War trolled me. See, I knew I shouldn't answer this question. I knew I shouldn't even agree to this shit. All right.
Hey, I had to stir up some fire, right?
All right. So Post-War just started some shit right here, okay? Shit, okay. Sending 10,000 Chinese people to your door.
And for those who don't know, you got to check the comment section on Northern Touch's page about that.
Okay, so all right. So what I'll say is that's definitely that is a trolling question, but it's not, because we live in the era of short attention spans. What short attention spans mean is quality doesn't carry the same weight that it did for the entirety of entertainment or music up until like recently. Like however long people have been making music, quality was the defining feature. I'm sure in the 80s and 90s and whatever, there was still shitty acts that popped, right? But now we're in the era of, well, most acts aren't aren't talented, right? Or they're talented at getting attention, and
Right.
not necessarily their music, right?
Right.
So what I'll say for quality versus quantity is, for me as an artist, quality is the quality is the standard that I set for myself, right? And it might be to my own detriment, because we're in the era short attention spans.
Right.
Quality doesn't matter to the masses. What matters to a new artist, pursuing stardom, even wanting to do this as a career, is the ability to get attention ASAP, right?
Right.
So you got your, face tattoos, rainbow hair, you're causing problems, you're a rapist, you're whatever,
Yeah. You're a troll.
You're a troll.
A bad troll, negative troll.
Negative troll, right, exactly. Then that is the shit that captures attention, right? But the cheat code to this world that we live in of short attention spans, therefore quality doesn't matter. The cheat code is that the way that brains that are hardwired to, give something a shot for a second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and then be out of here. The cheat code is that consistency and repetition achieves the same thing in these brains as stardom does. Meaning, if as an artist who's not already popping, you're consistent with your quantity. So you're putting out a song every whatever, every day, every week, whatever, right? Russ used this.
Yeah.
Russ used this strategy. Now, Russ did apparently I guess the secret about Russ is that there's a lot of money involved, whatever. I don't know the details, family money, white boy money, whatever it was, right? Mm-hmm. But the story that's told is that Russ put out a bunch of shit, and it helped him learn what was good and what spoke to audiences. But is it, if every day they see you and they're still, hitting next, skip, whatever for that first second, but after a while they see so many times, then there's just this psychological assumption that, this person's already on. So this person is popping.
That reminds me of Marketing 101, is burning those neurons in your brain by seeing a brand over and over. That's why McDonald's has some of the crappiest food, but it's often the first thought of fast food that comes to mind because they advertise the most and you see it the most.
Yeah. And you can even think, I remember like when I was a kid, I used to think, I'm like, why does Coke and McDonald's and all them shit still advertise? Because everyone knows them already. They're already up. Why would you waste that money on advertising? If someone wants Coke, then if you want a cola, then, you only got 2 options, right? But then, it's that seeing that shit triggers you to feel, so now in the modern day, there is, I guess, so as an artist, as a real artist, I'll say that quality is the thing that matters. I'm not going to put out shitty music, or I'm not going to put out music that's not of a high quality. And I'll admit that's to my detriment, because if I just put out every fucking thing, then I'd be more recognizable, and then people then would take the time to download the shit. So I'll, as an artist, say that you can't sacrifice quality, but what I can say also is that there's a lot of value.
That makes me wonder. So trying to get in the mind of Shah is, if you're a perfectionist, or you're just, the song isn't polished enough, and then you wait too long to put out music, that's as bad as putting out too much at crappy. So I guess you got to find that middle road, right?
No, it's worse. It's
worse.
It's worse if you're making music. I'm very fortunate and I'm very lucky in that my taste and the producers that I work with, we don't ride waves or ride trends. So there's not really an expiration date on any of our music, meaning the songs that I've been holding since 2016, 2017, 2018, we hear them now and they don't feel like dated. Post-war, you trolling me? He can't even show up.
Let's not give him any more love until he gets on this for the next one. So Equanum and Skiza. So Equanum asked, if you make a song that is an absolute hit, at least in your mind, what is the next step to getting it heard and played? Skiz asked, any tips for promoting your music and getting it heard?
Okay, so you make a hit. Then
And you think it's going to be huge for whatever reason. You think that one is, as opposed to some of the other songs, you're like, no, this is
exactly. No, it's a fair question. It's a fair question. So then, so a hit meaning it has the potential to really go big, right? There's one lane that I'm not familiar with personally, which would be selling it. So there's one lane I'm just not familiar with it. I guess maybe you could hit up your. I mean, SoCan has for me been utterly fucking useless. So I mean, fuck y'all. I've left. And ASCAP and BMI are both much more helpful and useful and proactive. So if you're, I mean, you could probably do it as a Canadian artist, is that if you don't have a link, then that's a place to go. If you genuinely have a hit, then you could sell it through those services. And then more doors might open up as a songwriter, right? I'm not too familiar with that shit because I keep this shit for myself. Or when I have written stuff, it's needed a big bag up front. My name's not attached to it. It's like, classic ghostwriting shit. So moving to, you have a hit. So I can tell you from my experience, because I'm in the middle of it, right? So there's, so two songs that more recently I've written, and one song that I've been holding for a while. So I guess I've had maybe in my career 5 songs that I like, that like universally it's like, oh shit, this is something special. One was Just Text. That was my breakout shit, right?
right.
I'm very fortunate I put that one out because, like I just said earlier, I've had the good fortune to not have had a song sort of like sound dated. Just Text, I do feel like if I held on to that and put that out now, it kind of wouldn't hit the same way that it did in 2017. So that was the first one. Around the same time as Just Text, there was another one called Bad Bad. There's another one called Boom. And more recently, there was 2 more called Back Now and Double Tap. So now, Boom it's a hit, but it's a little bit more of like, probably a bit more of a niche. So let's take that out of the equation. So now we got Bad Bad, we got Telemundo, or we got Back Now and Double Tap. So you have 3 hits. The standard thing you can do with 3 hits is you can bring it to a label. So you can bring anything to a label, but the standard way of going about it is a label meaning 3 hits. This is for a single deal. And they'll select one. And then they'll give you a deal. And depending on where you're at in your career, that deal, if you're just starting out in your career, the deal is probably not gonna be great. And then you might just reject the deal, which has happened. Like I've rejected a lot of deals. It might be a situation where getting to someone who has the experience to work the record and giving up a piece of that is the move. And especially if you're coming from Canada, that might need a plug. But Canada's friendly. Like you can go to like Universal. I think the dude, I don't know him, but I think he's like has a reputation as a very friendly dude. I think Ivan Evidante. I don't know if he's still the guy, but like Canadian people are friendly, and they generally do decent business. So you can hit up people and be like, yo, what do you think? Now, I would say a lot of people think they got a hit and ain't no one fucking trying to hear that shit. So make sure that what you feel like is a hit is that, like people who are outside of your circle.
Right. It's not just you based, like you've learned what a hit really is, so you can look unbiased outside of yourself, right? Because sometimes we all make songs that we love, and it's a classic in industry. We hear a lot of times where albums, back when albums were more of a thing, right. Even Dr. Dre, as big as Dr. Dre, he'd say with 50 Cent, they didn't even think In the Club was going to be the hit. They thought it was another song. And then, so anyways, I don't want to drag on too long with that.
Yep.
Excellent information, for sure. We got a couple of questions left. Bex has been on the line here.
Hey.
Bex, what's going on? You've been waiting so patiently.
Why not?
There we go. We're in lockdown, right?
Yeah, I got time, so.
There we go. What's going on?
So, I feel like we touched on this earlier, or you did, when you were talking about what happened with Telemundo going viral. But my question is, what degree of importance would you apply to marketing material in visual form, i.e. music videos, for burgeoning artists, like people just starting out?
That's an excellent question. So here's the thing. A music video specifically, I would say, so music videos did, for me, do me some good because my music videos, I really went all in on them. And then artistically, it got me clout in the film world. People really started appreciating me. They're like, oh shit, this guy's gonna bring back music videos and all that, right? But ultimately, I don't, and whatever, my YouTube views got up, like, you know, as a artist starting from scratch, my early videos all hit 250,000 views, whatever. But ultimately, I don't think that did me any good. So the takeaway from that is I don't think music videos specifically as a visual are worth anything unless there's some component in them that is gonna go viral. And I don't even know what that would be. Like I've had alligators in my videos. I had me holding an alligator in that shit. And so if that wasn't enough, then like what would be, right? And it's like, there's certain things that look nice, like, you know, everyone loves tits. Everyone loves baby animals, but baby animals like is not enough. If I'm just holding baby animals, I've held a little baby alligator. It still didn't work. So music videos specifically, I would say, fuck all that shit. Because a music video is going to require someone who doesn't know you to watch the whole few minutes of the thing, right? Like, so if your song's 3 minutes, you put all the money into a music video. The success of that music video is going to be determined by the views, which is going to be determined by new audiences watching that music video. You can't bank on that shit unless there's something built into that music video that is going to capture new audiences because it's so captivating. I do think visuals is, you know, like, because Instagram is still Instagram is still kind of like the internet. Instagram is still like what websites were, what www was, like whatever, like, you know, 10 years ago, or what Facebook was, you know, several years ago.
Speaking on that, thanks again, Shah, for joining us. Northern Touch Music Festival helping us facilitate this first episode of Q&A. And
Day
remember,
of Shah is my Instagram. Day of Shah is my Instagram.